Hi everyone. In this video, we'll be creating a Raspberry Pi tank that has a live feed and you can control over Wi-Fi. Like you can see in the screen, the Raspberry Pi, we get a real-time feed from the Raspberry Pi, and we can from the browser by connecting to its local IP address and port 8000. I can control the Raspberry Pi. Now we're gonna take a deeper look on how we can build it. So let's start with the basics. So for this, I'm using a Raspberry Pi 4B, a L298 motor driver. To power the Raspberry Pi, I'm using a jump starter, a car jump starter. It's battery pack to supply 12 volt to the motors, or the motor driver and the motors, and it has a USB connection that I'm using to supply power to the Raspberry Pi at the same time. And then I have these GPIO pin that sends signals to the Raspberry from the GPIO pin from the Raspberry Pi that controls the motor drivers and tells the motor which way to go. And we have a camera at the very front. It's a Raspberry Pi camera version 2. In order to get started with the software, once you have the parts ready, it's a matter of putting the parts together. If you want to know more on how to control a motor driver or DC motor using a Raspberry Pi, please check out my first video. If you have questions, do let me in the comments as well. Alright, to get started with the software, first we're going to do an update, then install the dependencies needed. This is the wiring, the wiring pin numbers for the Raspberry Pi GPIO and the L298 motor driver. You could use a different wiring, but just remember to update the code accordingly. Here's the code for the Pi tank control. Just copy that over into your VS Code or into your Thorny ID, depending on how you're using it. Paste that in as app.py or any other Python file, and just run that Python. Over here, let's reload. There we have it. We can see it work. If I cancel it out, let's close. Now let's take a deeper dive into a code. First, it's just importing the basic things we need, defining the GPIO setup, and over here I'm setting the power to 50%. You might want to change that depending on what kind of battery you're using and the motor you're using. For me, if I set to 100%, it's going to be a little too fast and I won't get a good video. And I'm defining the actions over here, forward, backward. So when it comes to the camera, one thing to be mindful is over here I have it as flipped as 1. You may not need this line. The reason I have it is my camera is flipped upside down. Alright, if I'm to use another connection, okay. Over here I have Pi Connect connected to the Raspberry Pi, and if I'm to see the video or see what the camera sees, it's going to be rpicam dash hello. We get an inverted view. In order to fix that, I'm using a native one over here. The rest is fairly straightforward. This code creates the UI we see, and this is for the Flask API or Flask endpoint. And that's kind of it. Hope you have fun with this project. Do let me know if you have any questions or if you need me to break it down further. Thank you. Happy coding.